Hello, good evening and welcome. I'm Duglas Stewart and I'm joined today by a good friend of mine. He's called Marco Rea, and Marco's made a lot of music over a lot of years. May not look like it, but he has. He's been in the Wellgreen, he's been in Stilton, he's been in the Marbles, and he's done a lot of other music as well, collaborations with different people and been in other groups. Too many to mention actually. And we're mainly going to be talking about songwriting. Both of us have written a lot of songs as solo writers and collaborate with a lot of different people. And just as we were setting up there, Marco started, was sitting just while we're setting up, started playing some little ideas on the acoustic guitar, which I guess for me that's one of the key things. When you're a songwriter, you're always looking out for things that might be useful.
It's an interesting topic, and hello Douglas.
Oh, hello.
It's nice to be with you again. It's interesting because I've had this kind of fear of the motorway recently.
Right.
And the way I conquered it today was I was writing a glam rock song.
So you weren't at an instrument because you were driving, I'm guessing?
No, I was driving. So I just hit record just as I was going. Mm-hmm. So I've got about half an hour of this song, which I'm going to record tonight at the session. Yeah,
well, it's interesting because I sort of almost made an assumption. We have written one song together, and we wrote it in the moment. You know, we hadn't pre-planned it. It was almost it just started and finished, and it was basically written pretty much in the length the song is this. But I thought because you play lots of instruments, you probably primarily would write at an instrument, but that suggests that's not always the case.
Interestingly enough, I do. But today, the motorway was my instrument.
Right.
Yeah.
The kind of sounds of the motorway and stuff. Or?
I just kept thinking about knee-high boots, and it got me right over the Erskine Bridge and right along the M8 to get here in time.
And the thing you were playing on the guitar, you were playing a little part on the guitar. That's not very glam rock, so I'm guessing that's separate.
That's a separate thing. Yeah, it's been happening all day. It's been a really interesting day, just going through school and working with a lot of kids and stuff. But I've just had these little moments where I've found myself having little pockets of time, and today it's been a really interesting day. Might be something to do with Friday the 13th, Harvest Moon, Full Moon and all that stuff. Uh-huh. And seemingly we're only going to get one of these days every 500 years, so I've organised a recording session.
Yeah, you've got to get lots of songs all coming to you in one day. I mean, David Scott and I had one of his charts recently, and we figured out there was something like 2 days where we wrote 7 of the songs that ended up in the album Bee Stings in 2 days.
Yep.
And pretty much recorded them in 2 days as well.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing. Sometimes there might be days where it's kind of dry and other days.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I made a solo record a few years ago, which I've been trying to do for years, and I realised that it bookended a chapter in my life because I now have the second one, which I haven't worked on for 3 years, but I want to move on to something else. And when I look back, I went, that's a chapter in my life. And those songs all came. I remember I hadn't written for a while, and I had some time over Christmas, and I would basically just go into the barn, and I had to dig myself into a writing zone. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to some of my favourite songs and go, I want to write one like Fixing a Hole or one like Nick Drake, and I had to literally get the shovel out and go into the trenches. Mm-hmm. And then when that happened, 10 songs came back to back. Fast, yeah. And usually I'd be writing my stew from the Wellgreen, and basically we would have 2 hours in the studio in a morning because we're so busy, and we know we have to come out with a song. And we have to come out with a song that's basically, finished and probably recorded. Yeah. Most of the first Wellgreen record, we would go in on a Friday morning and we would write a song and record it, and some of the rough mixes ended up on that album.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have the experience, and I was thinking this earlier today because I think you and I didn't just get you for this reason. You and I should write some more stuff together. And one of the things I thought, I know if I go into a room with Stuart Kidd or yourself or David Scott or various other friends, but within even something like 15 minutes, we probably would have a song. It would be a keeper.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even that idea just before we started shooting there, it was like I could feel an energy, and that's a special thing. It doesn't happen with everybody, but we've certainly got that between us as a community of musicians, that we just get it with each other.
But sometimes it doesn't come easy. So well, I guess a lot of people, when they think about songwriting, the big thing is it's like an artist having a blank canvas or a writer having just sheets of paper in front of them, and you go, how do you get that first mark?
Yeah.
If you don't actually have a plan, have you got kind of tricks that would make you go, the first mark?
I was talking to a pupil today about writing lyrics, and he's into a lot of kind of emo stuff and various other things that are quite heavy. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, God, some of my favourite songs are things like Yellow Submarine and, you know, Piggies or any of those kind of nonsensical kind of songs that are actually really heavy hitters. You know, and I'm thinking, you know, you might like emo stuff, but, you know, pop the White Album on and listen to something like Honey Pie. It doesn't get any darker than that.
Oh, it's really
Rocky
dark.
Raccoon, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking to myself, I'll bring the White Album in next week and just... You know, it's the way the Beatles for me just be the guys who are the absolute kings of songwriting, along with some others, are just the guys that could just take that blank canvas and just throw stuff on it, and it would always be magic. You know, I don't think I've ever heard anything by the Beatles that I didn't like.
McCartney, I remember watching a documentary with McCartney, and he said quite often, I guess, in the Beatles he played bass, but you know, he's a guitarist, he's a keyboard player, you know, he can play a lot of stuff, but he would say very often he would do things like he'll go to an instrument that he wouldn't normally write on.
Yeah.
You know, so again, it's like if you're hitting a wee bit of a rut, like, oh man, this is sounding the same, do you think that's a good thing to go to a different instrument?
I think it's an amazing talent to have, to be able to just translate something onto a different instrument, or, you know, you're the bass player, but I mean, for me, McCartney had such an amazing sense of arrangement, and his production skills that he took away from the Beatles were just sensational. I think all the Beatles were absolute pioneers of all that stuff, and but I mean, I think McCartney, it's a tough one, you know. I love all the Beatles, but for me, McCartney was in the trenches.
Yeah.
With it, you know. And
as a composer, I guess his musicality was probably, I mean, Lennon had a thing that he did that, you know, was completely unique, completely groundbreaking and enthralling. But I guess even in a lot of Lennon's songs, the thing you're talking about, the arrangement, the things that McCartney would bring into Lennon's songs with his incredibly creative bass lines, which...
Yeah. I think McCartney was definitely the experimenter, but I mean, God, George Harrison's involved, so I mean, and Lennon and Ringo, but for me, Lennon was making records through the 70s, focused records, whereas McCartney was plugging things into the back of tape machines and plugging synths in and carried on experimenting, you know, and was also, you know, a big part of the Beatles.
And I guess one of the other things about collaborators or even ex-collaborators is a kind of healthy or even unhealthy rivalry. I mean, I remember hearing that one of Lennon's big things that made him go, I need to start making records again, is because he heard Coming Up by McCartney.
Right.
And he was like,
yeah,
fuck,
aye,
I can't let him away with that.
Yeah.
That's so good, I need to do something.
Aye.
You know, and so I guess that thing of having, you know, I've been in, you know, bands and wrote songs with people like Norman Blake, incredible songwriter, or Francis McDonald or Davey or Stu or whoever, and they would come up with something and I'd go, I need to come up with something that's competing with that.
Yeah.
And it makes you, you know, raise your game.
Absolutely. I mean, I can go way back to my first band when we were 15 and 16, and we would listen to the Fan Club and the Bandits, of course, and all those bands, and just be like, those guys are so great. How did they get those guitar sounds? I always had a real love for your songs. You know, the Muppets connection. I could always hear that lovely influence, Bacharach influence in there from really like 17-year-old, 16-year-old. It was always something that really grabbed me about your melodies.
Well, one of the things that I think links us and links a lot of the other people we were talking about there is not just having the typical influences. And of course the Beatles cover so much musically, you know, and cover, you know, things that sound like old show tunes and things that sound like they're from another planet.
Yeah.
But all of us would always turn to things like songs written for the Muppets, songs written for classic Disney films.
Absolutely.
French songs, Ennio Morricone soundtrack music.
Absolutely.
And having all of that, and I think it's like if someone wants to be a painter or someone wants to be a filmmaker, gather in as much stuff as you possibly can.
Take it all in.
Because I'll very often, if I'm working with someone, I'll go, and I hear a bit sound a bit like Ennio Morricone, and now it's Todd Rundgren, and now it's...
Yeah.
And all of these people, including yourself, they get the reference.
Yeah.
You know, and we might even slightly get it wrong, a bit like the Beatles would get their version of Little Richard wrong, or their version of Goffin King wrong.
Absolutely.
But getting it wrong can also be a wonderful thing. You shouldn't be frightened of that.
Well, they got it right so many times that getting it wrong a couple of times is all right, you know.
But the getting it wrong sometimes sounded better to my ears.
Definitely. I mean, I always I don't know if you will know the song I'll Be Back, and they do a 3/4 version on the anthology, and I think it would have made an amazing cut as a 3/4 version, but they went with the 4/4 version, which is pretty cool and suited.
Sometimes hearing demos it can be a difficult thing, because occasionally you'll hear one go, I think I like that.
I try not to demo now. I just, you know, if we're in, and that's it. The button's down. You know, the demo is the car on the motorway.
Yeah.
You know, just sing into the phone and then present it to the band, and time is limited, so just make sure that, you know, for me, certainly, I was just saying to Lavinia last night, because we're going in tonight to record, you know, we're in agreement, let's make sure that we present it to the band so that we utilise every second we can, because before you know it, we'll be back into another week and everybody's busy again, and time is limited.
And it's to do with commitment, and commitment I think takes lots of forms. It's like, and people might go, what? But you and I, we come to do something like this, and in my case it might not necessarily look like it, but I've thought about, I think what I'm going to wear is, and that's, I think, a level of commitment as well. It's like everything, making everything art. I
think it's lost, you know. I don't want to go slagging people, you know, but I mean, or name dropping, but I'm going to. But I mean, what does Ed Sheeran wear that you remember?
I know, I feel it's like, you know, a lot of contemporary singer-songwriters, it's almost like we have an embarrassment about, I don't want to look like I'm a show-off, I don't want to, but just think of all these people now cite David Bowie. If you went along to a David Bowie concert and he turned up wearing a hoodie and just a pair of kind of very ordinary jeans, you'd be so disappointed.
Totally. I mean, you don't hear anybody saying, did you see that duffel coat that Justin Bieber was wearing? You know, because he's just no Mick Jagger, you know. He's not the talent that Jagger is, he just doesn't have the style or the looks.
I even think sometimes when you go to his studio, I like the idea of you dress for it.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, you don't just stumble.
Tonight's a good example, you know. I mean, we're getting into the studio, we've all been working all week, we've been at school doing classes and stuff, you know, and I dress like this. But tonight, we're lighting a fire, we're lighting candles, we're lighting incense, and we're going to get on the capes, you know, and we're going to have the barn candle lit for the session, and we're all going to go out with the telescope and we're going to look at this full moon and soak it in and soak the vibes in, and then we'll put the record down, because we're not just going to roll in with hoodies on and trackies.
Because it creates a place.
Aye, that's it. Absolutely.
I mean, it's not my favourite Beatles album. I think it's an amazing album, but Sgt. Pepper's, part of that was the thing of McCartney going, okay, we're in a wee bit of a rut here, let's pretend we're not the Beatles, let's pretend we're a fictional band. What would they do?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess you found yourself probably sometimes doing that. You become a heightened version of yourself.
Yeah, I think we've all got the potential to raise to our full potential, but I think it's really paramount to do that at the right time. You know, and I feel good about tonight. I think we're going to get stuff down, and I think it's going to be a great session.
I was aware of you and I would see you kind of around, but I guess when I really got to know you was when you started collaborating with Stuart Kidd on Wellgreen stuff, and I just want to ask you a wee bit about that collaboration, how it works. I'm sure there's different variations and different songs, but the song Maybe It's the Pressure is a big favourite in mine, and I sort of sometimes think I can spot certain musical references. I was wondering if you maybe want to talk about that song and maybe just a wider thing.
That's maybe one of the most important songs to us, because it was really right at the start of our kind of songwriting relationship. And interestingly, I'd been working on a band that Jim Gash to help me out with called the Rainbow Family, with a record out, and at that point I think I was talking about maybe asking Stu if he wanted to play the bass, and then Rainbow Family kind of fizzled out and Stu and myself ended up working together. But it turns out that Stu and myself met when we were 15 in a place called the Wellgreen out in Killearn, and seemingly we spent 5 minutes together talking and shared the headphone on one of the Doors albums, and that was it. And so then 15 or 10 years later we ended up in the same place of work, and we ended up travelling to work together from the barn, and Stu had been asked to write a Christmas song for friends that he had in America, and most of the songs on Wellgreen's, the first album, were us trying to write that Christmas song.
Well, December Child.
That ended up being the Christmas song.
I'm a December child.
Are you?
Yeah, December 30th. That's irrelevant. Yeah, Capricornial.
Same as my mum and dad. Yeah, aye.
Yeah, but could you maybe actually let us hear a wee bit of maybe It's the Pressure, and maybe even talk us a wee bit through what was happening musically?
Yep, straight G. So we're obviously total Beach Boys fanatics, so we put the lower fifth on it, and then just a nice little melodic. Very simple. And then in one of the most recent Wellgreen songs, it has a little chord sequence which I was working on yesterday, and this happened yesterday. I'll get it right. Quite similar, you know, but a totally different song and about something totally different again. I told a kid about this song today, and I said it's about feeling lost and going a bit mad. And he looked at me a bit, I was kind of like, God, this guy's mad.
Well, I think there's a problem with, I think a lot of kids now, this current generation, where a lot of them feel more inhibited than ever about expressing themselves because they're frightened of being ridiculed. Well,
that's why I told him about the song, because I thought, he was having a bad day, the boy, you know. I think he's going to be hopefully having a nicer day now after having a wee jam and a cup of tea and all that, but the guy was having a bad day, and I thought, my new song is about feeling like you're going a bit mad. That's fine.
Yeah,
you know?
There's a tradition of great songs like In My Room by the Beach Boys, where the song's about going to a place where you can feel safe, and music's a place that you can feel safe, or you can feel like almost you've got superpowers and it can transport you. And I think quite a lot of Wellgreen songs do, and your songs in general do, is like maybe It's the Pressure. It starts off quite and it's quite contained, and then it becomes quite, to me, I don't know if it's the right phrase, but kind of expansive. It feels like suddenly some sort of door has opened and you're crossing over fields and valleys.
It might be that bit where it went, because it runs you down the chord sequence. So then that lands on the G with the root note on at that time, and then it starts taking off a bit here. It's that chord for me.
Yeah.
I love that chord there, the kind of...
It's funny because it's an abstract, music is such an abstract language, and lyrics are incredibly important, particularly when they're wrong. If a lyric's wrong, it really can kill something. But music to me is the international language, and you know, you'll get kids in places like Japan and Brazil and a lot of places where they maybe don't even have that much English, and it's the language of the music.
Absolutely.
That you know, it creates pictures. So when you're writing a song, do your lyrics kind of come out of the kind of pictures that the music's creating, or does the music come out of the lyrics that you've got? Or
it's funny because I was listening to some stuff that I'd recorded before on the way over here, thinking, what am I going to be doing with Douglas today and Trevor? And there's no formula, there is no recipe. as such. I mean, that song came to me, I keep talking about the high heel boots and stuff, you know, the knee-high boots on the motorway today, and I just think it happened at that point because it was meant to happen at that point, and that can be me singing into my phone, pressing record as I'm going to drive the car, and it can be me emergency pulling the car in and grabbing the guitar out the back and having an idea, or it could be a little tune like the one I played earlier with the chords, and there was another bit for that which I'll need to try and remember, but I could write something, you could write something over the top of that easily, you know, or vice versa, or sit at the piano. For me, I've always had when I sit at the piano, I always feel really excited, and it's almost like I have this kind of wholesomeness. It's like eating oats or something for me, sitting at a piano. It's just got that. And another instrument that I really, really love as well is a kind of pipe organ, harmonium style thing. It's got a kind of drone on it, you know, that's lovely. So that's a nice instrument for writing. But these have been a big part of the Wellgreen, these Casios, because Stuart Kidd, my good friend and brother, is obsessed with these things.
Yeah, I know a few people, like Eros Childs, big fan of them.
As well, yeah, absolutely.
Norman Blake collects Casio keyboards.
Aye.
And I think some people get a wee bit obsessed by the thing of the latest thing, the thing that doesn't have any flaws, the thing that's got everything so sophisticated. But I think there's something beautiful in something that's a wee bit more creaky. I
think for me, writing, this is an absolutely, I mean, I could give you a demonstration, right? But first, can I just show you, because this is a Casio Tone MT800, which I got for 25 quid out the charity shop. I keep finding them in Clydebank, and I hope I find another one. But this is a little tape, kind of ROM thing in it. And I'm going to try and take it out to show you, if I can get it out without breaking it, the tape.
Why?
So we'd like to try and see if we can get this. It says Wolf, and I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Jehovah's Wolf or Jonathan Watson, but this has information on it that we need to know. Wolf, if we can get it playing. Can anybody help?
We'll try. If you know how to get that, please contact us.
Yeah.
All of the songs that we're mentioning today, we'll put details and links to them so you can find them and listen to some of these songs.
So let's try and write a song on this keyboard now.
All right.
So what we'll do is, what beat should we have? Begin.
Yeah.
Begin. Should we go with Begin?
I like that beat. It's kind of romantic, and I'm a romantic guy.
That's pretty good. So for me, this is the magic of this keyboard. There's a song there.
I know already you're hearing kind of melodies and things, and it creates a picture. Maybe a slightly corny picture, but it's okay. It's getting a wee bit more racy.
Major. Minor.
And then you can almost just start singing words on top, and if the words aren't right straight away, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes spontaneity can be a good thing.
I mean, you could make a song over that.
I almost had one there. I was about to go for it.
Let's look back over it then.
Right. Let's.
Should we try again?
Yeah. I've only got some 4 words currently in my head, but let's just see if anything happens. Is made for love, the moon's above, Friday the 13th, they say it's a night that's cursed, but I must say it's not that way for me. Now it didn't totally scan.
It was great, but
we were getting somewhere, and it was about tonight. You were talking about see, because one of the things I think that happens is when you're writing songs, is you're gathering information.
Yeah.
So earlier on, you're talking about what you're going to be doing on Friday the 13th and the full moon and all that.
Yeah.
And that's all getting.
It's all going in. Totally.
And the other thing that I think is important here is a leap of faith. And I was talking about how kids, sometimes I'll do kind of presentations for kids, and I'll go, so what kind of music do you listen to? What films do you like? And they're all like, I don't want to say, because somebody might make fun of me and all that.
It's getting worse.
But you've got to actually, to be an artist, you've got to be unafraid of looking foolish and some people maybe actually giggling or sniggering at what you're doing. Because I know if we'd started doing that in front of a group of kids, some of them would have went, who embarrassed? But other ones would go, that's kind of cool.
Totally.
I want you to be like that.
I'm very fortunate to work with kids that are like that as well, you know, that like kooky things in life. For me, the thing that scares me about life is that so many people are living in their phones or their iPads these days. They're living their life in there. They're living less life out in this world that we should be living our life in. You know, they're all going virtual and you can see it in their faces. Some of them are so drawn. They're trapped in gaming, they're trapped in Facebook or whatever it is, social media. They're living in that world. It's crazy. They're not living in the world that you and I are living in right now with this Casio keyboard.
And sometimes I think the actual thing, my advice would be, if you want to write a song, just start singing. If you don't play an instrument, just start singing something. It's like when you were a kid, you probably got a piece of paper and people would say, oh, take a line for a walk, and you'd go, and then you go, oh, that looks a bit like a funny man with a big nose, and then you draw it in and make it look like a funny man with a big nose, or it look like an elephant, or it look whatever. But music's the same. You can just, like, if you've got the ability to play some chords, or you've got an instrument that can do that, just start pressing some buttons and singing along, or
I completely agree with you.
Whistling.
Once again, I'm going to go back to the motorway kind of knee-high boot thing, you know. And it's really interesting because the knee-high boot thing was driving me the whole way here. And I sung that into the phone with no music, but I know exactly what's going to be going on there. I know what Seb's, you know, I know what I'm going to suggest to Seb. He'll potentially come up with something better. You know, I'm imagining this driving kind of, so we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, when I was younger, it's funny because my sister, and I always really quite like musicals, and I think my sister did, but she had a kind of suspicion about them because she would sort of say, but people don't just start singing and there's not just a band magically there. And I would sort of go, well, I do.
Definitely.
Because I'd be walking around the supermarket and picking up like some fruit and singing about the fruit. Sometimes out loud and people would be looking at me. Sometimes in my head, and I would hear a band. I would hear the orchestra, I'd hear the choir. And then it's like
I've experienced that firsthand from you, Douglas, and you know I've had you send me little things. The song that we wrote together was just you singing into a phone, you know, and I had free rein, so I was like, right, straight into the world of this isn't going to be normal chords of G and C, which I love. I'm all about that as well. But for me, like the song I was talking about yesterday, it's like I wrote that song 2 years ago. And it's time to put it onto a Wellgreen record. It's kind of like the guys are like, great, that's the one. And I think it's going to work out really well. But I wrote into it more, if you know what I mean. I'd written the song, it was sounding good, it was fine. But then when I got in and started multi-tracking it, I started thinking, God, there's a world that I'm completely missing, and it's that I need to write into this song more. It's almost like adding in more seasoning into a pasta, a sauce.
Well, the song we wrote, which again we'll put a link to, it was a Christmas song, and it quotes almost Christmas music that already exists to a certain extent, but makes it a wee bit skew with and changes the picture a wee bit. But I remember we would be going, this music sounds like the winter chill, this music sounds like the icy path, and there's a kind of nervousness of you might fall down, or you might be broken hearted if the love doesn't turn out.
That's it, it ticks all the boxes.
And here's a bit where all the little kids are going on a snowy day to the church for the Christmas service,
it's a beautiful song.
And they're kind of singing as they go.
That was a zone. It was interesting to be in that zone because we hadn't really known each other properly for long, and I think I'd started working with Stu, and I was really in the Pet Sounds mode, really in that Burt Bacharach, really obsessed with that stuff. So coming up with the chords and all the other various little kind of mad bits for that song, for me, was quite easy. That, you know, when you sent me that, I thought, God, you know, it should be fine to go here, you know. And I just went for all the places. It came together really fast. I think we arranged it and recorded it the same day as well.
I think we probably spent 3 hours recording.
Aye.
You know, and that was pretty much, again, written. Okay, I had an idea for it and I'd sent it to you, so you'd had a chance to work out some chords, but the actual process of us being together going, and where's it going now?
Aye, definitely. We should do more of that.
We definitely should.
Definitely.
But one of the things I think attracted me to to want to work with you again. It's we're almost coming full circle here. As one of our big passions was the legacy of Jim Henson in the Muppets, and part of that legacy is Jim Henson really knew music and really understood music, understood the poignancy of it, the humour, melody, how it could paint pictures, how it could bring out characters, and that song has elements of the kind of humour, the poignancy, and all of these, and little characters that are in it. And one of the first things I think we performed together, because we have performed together a few times, was a song called The Rainbow Connection.
Yes.
Written by Asher and Williams. Paul Williams has written and co-written so many brilliant songs for things like Bugsy Malone, The Carpenters, a whole lot of stuff. But that song is such a special song, and it's now kind of Kermit the Frog's theme tune, but it's also a kind of theme tune for, you know, people who feel they're different. They're actually proud to be not the norm, you know, to be, and I think to be an artist, to be a creator, that's an important thing. And I was wondering if we maybe could finish off with you and I even just singing a wee bit of The Rainbow Connection together.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're going to sing a little bit of The Rainbow Connection for you. Marco Rea, thank you for coming along.
It's always a pleasure, Douglas.
Let's make some more music together real soon.
That would be great, absolutely.
Okay, here we go. Why are there so many songs about rainbows, and what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions and only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide.
So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see.
Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. It's a beauty.
Unbelievable.